Kofi had dreamed of a bustling family home, filled with the laughter of children and the pride of a strong legacy. When he married his beloved Amma, those dreams grew even brighter. In their village, nestled between rolling hills and shimmering rivers, children were seen as the greatest wealth, and sons were the crowning jewels of any family. When Amma gave birth to their first child, a girl named Serwa, Kofi felt his heart swell with a joy he'd never known. But as Serwa grew, the whispers began. A son would have made Kofi's heart truly whole, some villagers muttered, pitying him. Kofi ignored them. Serwa was a blessing, he told himself. As the years passed and Kofi and Amma welcomed two more daughters, Efua and Abena, the villagers' whispers grew louder, harsher. A weak man produces only daughters, they taunted. To Kofi, each of his girls was a gift, each with her own spirit and beauty. But deep down, he worried for their future. In their culture, girls were often seen as burdens, meant only for marriage and motherhood. The village elders even pulled Kofi aside, urging him to take another wife who could give him the sons he needed. But Kofi stood firm, his love unwavering. These girls were his world. How could he ever betray them? With each sleepless night, he made a silent promise. He would show the world that his daughters were his strength, and they would defy every limitation placed upon them. Serwa, the eldest, was a quiet but bright young woman. She had a mind like a sponge, soaking up every bit of knowledge her father shared with her. She dreamed of becoming a doctor, an idea the village found laughable. What kind of girl wastes her youth on such foolish ideas, they would say. But Kofi would sit beside her, a steady presence on sleepless nights as she studied by candlelight. He saw her dreams shimmering behind her eyes, and he cherished that light in her. Serwa, never let anyone make you feel small, he would say, placing his calloused hand over hers. The world may not yet see it, but you are capable of more than they could ever imagine. Despite his support, Serwa often cried in the privacy of her room, torn between her dreams and the weight of her culture's expectations. Kofi knew her pain, and it tore at his heart. He wished he could protect her from the cruelty of the world, but he could only teach her resilience and hope she'd find her way. Efua, the second-born, was as fierce as a lioness. Where Serwa was quiet, Efua was bold. She had a sharp tongue, a quick wit, and a passion for justice. She wanted to become a lawyer, someone who could speak for the voiceless. This dream, too, was met with scorn. A woman's place is not to argue, the elders said. A woman's place is to be gentle, to serve. But Efua's resolve only strengthened. She began to confront anyone who spoke ill of her sisters or her father. If I don't stand up, who will? She'd tell her father. Kofi worried for her, knowing that Efua's fire would face fierce opposition, but he couldn't dim her spirit. Instead, he encouraged her, saying, "Never let them silence you, Efua. There is power in your voice." Efua's bravery inspired her sisters, and they all began to see the world differently. They didn't have to shrink to fit anyone's expectations. With their father's love as their armor, they could face any storm. The girls' growth, ambitions, and education brought increasing criticism from the villagers. One evening, Kofi was called to a village meeting. The elders scowled at him, their eyes hard as stone. "Kofi, you have spoiled your daughters with foolish ideas. A woman belongs in the home with her husband. Your girls are bringing shame to us all." Kofi held his head high, his heart heavy but unwavering. "My daughters are my pride," he replied, his voice steady. "They deserve to dream, to be free." The elders dismissed him with scoffs and mutters, warning him that he was raising his daughters to be burdens. Kofi walked home that night, feeling the weight of his decision. He feared for his daughters, but he knew he could never let them down. The love he had for them was stronger than any judgment or tradition. Abena, the third-born, was the gentlest of the sisters. She had a gift for healing, for comforting others, and she dreamed of being a midwife. To her, bringing life into the world was a calling, and it filled her heart with purpose. Kofi, who had always admired her nurturing soul, encouraged her to follow this dream. He would often remind her, Abena, the world needs people like you, gentle, loving, compassionate. Yet the villagers were relentless, warning her that such dreams were not for women, especially one who should be preparing for marriage. But Kofi had shown her strength and kindness, and she refused to be deterred. Over time, even the villagers could not ignore her gift, as she began helping the village midwife with births, calming mothers in labor, and assisting in ways only she could. As the girls continued to grow, their achievements and determination became impossible to ignore. Serwa earned a scholarship to study medicine, and Serwa began interning with a local lawyer. Abena's gentle touch became sought after by villagers who had once scoffed at her dreams. Kofi's heart swelled with pride, but his daughters also faced backlash, with even distant relatives chastising him, saying he'd failed to make them marriageable. Yet, Kofi held fast, knowing that the strength in his daughters was his greatest legacy. He would sacrifice anything for them to have the chance he never had, to follow their dreams freely. One evening, Serwa approached her father with tears in her eyes. "Baba, they mock you because of us," she whispered, her voice filled with guilt. "I don't want you to suffer." Kofi took her hands and whispered back, "My child, you are my pride. Let them say what they will. What matters is that you live as you are meant to live." As time passed, the village began to change. People who once mocked Kofi now began to see the fruits of his labor. Serwa became a respected doctor, often tending to those who had once scorned her family. Efua's bold voice became a beacon for justice, inspiring young girls to dream beyond the limitations placed on them. Abena's gentle heart helped bring new life into the world as she became a midwife. The village elders, who had once called Kofi a failure, now invited him to share his story at community gatherings. They finally saw that his daughters were not burdens, but blessings. Kofi's faith in his daughters had defied the old ways, creating a new path not only for his family, but for generations to come. On the day Kofi passed away, his daughters gathered at his graveside, where he had once told them tales of strength, honor, and love. They were heartbroken, but they knew his spirit would live on through them. As they shared stories of his unwavering support and the sacrifices he made, they understood that his love had always been their guiding light. His strength had taught them to rise above the narrow beliefs of others and to be true to themselves. Kofi's legacy wasn't in the sons he never had, but in the daughters he had raised with all his heart. They were the pride of his life, a legacy of love and courage that would echo through their lives and beyond. In the end, Kofi's daughters didn't just carry his name, they carried his dreams, his resilience, and his belief that love could conquer even the deepest rooted traditions. They knew he was watching over them, his pride shining brighter than ever.
Do not forget to like, comment, and share our videos. We would like to read your comments. Also, look through our channel for more interesting stories.